Today's shout out goes to the amazing woman that is my wife. Love you, honey. Narnia, 1979. Let's hit it. This is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the animated version. This is the first film version of Narnia that at least I could find. If you could find a different version that came before 1979, please tell me. I would love to see it. I would love to add it to the channel. It would be a great addition. But as far as I know, this is the first telling of the book. So it, of course, takes from C.S. Lewis's classic, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Incredible book, highly recommend. The movie executes some of it well, and in other points it just doesn't. For one thing, that kind of threw me off of the entire tone of the film is that everything seemed a bit goofy in it. Like all the animation and stuff, just everybody's super zany looking, and then the voice acting is laughably, like, it's crazy. It's just all over the place, and honestly, it does add a lot to the movie. I'm glad it is the way it is, but it still does kind of take away from the point that the movie's trying to make. Other than that, great film. I loved it. Like I said, animation's a bit goofy, and also it seems a bit rushed because it's trying to fit a whole book into a short. I think it's only 1 hour. Might have been longer, but it does a great job of telling the story for the most part. Like I said, animation and the voice acting kind of throws you off here and there.
A boy? Do you mean you're a son of Adam? Answer me once and for all, or I shall lose my patience.
So anyway, we're going to get started with the plot here. We start off on a rainy day. Lucy jumps out of the wardrobe, and she's like, I'm back. Did you miss me? Because they're playing hide and seek. So she's like, I'm back. Did you miss me? I have returned from where I was. And they're like, you've never even left. Like, I don't think you understand the game of hide and seek. You're supposed to hide, and we're supposed to find you. You're not supposed to give that away. But she's like, I've been gone for hours. Didn't you see, like, didn't you miss me? And they're like, you've been gone for about 10 seconds. They didn't believe her that she was gone for hours. Then she tries to tell them, like, I was in Narnia. I was in a different place. And they're like, we have no clue what you're talking about. So Lucy's like, I will test the closet to make sure that, there is a magical land, or if there isn't, then we'll know. So she climbs back there and just knocks on the wood, and she's like, nope, it's just a wardrobe. Nothing special here. So Lucy's like, oh, I wish you guys would believe me, but she's not too beat up about it and at first. And then, I want to touch on one thing. Edmund, big fat dingus. Like, he is a piece of trash. I just want to punch him straight in the nose. He has like the most punchable face in all of cinematic history. I mean, just take a look at this guy. Disgusting. So Lucy decides after this whole thing happened, nobody believed her. She's like, I don't care. I understand why they don't understand. But I wish they would believe me. But I know what I saw in that wardrobe, and they can't tell me any different. So she's relaxing, and then she starts reminiscing, and then it takes us back to the start of the hide and seek game. Whenever she runs into the wardrobe, goes to the back of the wardrobe, and finds Narnia. And so whenever she first enters, it's like all snow on the ground and stuff, and she sees a light pool up ahead. So she's like, I'll walk up and see what that's all about. And whenever she makes it up there, Satan appears. Well, I mean, Tumnus appears. I'm sorry, you can't get mad at me for getting confused. I mean, look at the guy. He looks like Satan if he was a chia pet.
Good evening.
Goodness gracious me.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Excuse me. I don't want to be inquisitive, but should I be right in thinking that you are a daughter of Eve?
So Thomas, right off the bat, though, he's very suspicious. Like, he's being very creepy and stuff. Then whenever he finds out she's a real human being, he's like, why don't you come to my house and have some tea? And I have tea and cake, and we'll do so many wonderful things there. Real suspicious. Like, kids, if you are watching this right now, I would just like for you to know, if anybody offers you anything, do not go for it, because basically Thomas is like, hey, like pulling up. He could have just like pulled up in his white van. He's like, hey, he's like, I got candy in here. You want to hop in? And Lucy ignored all those red flags and said, yes, sir, and just hopped right into that van. I mean, seriously, girl, think. Like, dude's being real creepy. I would definitely run away as fast as possible. I'm seeing a guy with deer feet trying to convince me to go to his house. Ain't happening, let me tell you.
Of course I'm human.
To be sure. How stupid of me. But I've never seen a son of Adam or a daughter of Eve before. I'm delighted to meet, that is to say, absolutely delighted.
So she does decide to go to his house. Like I said, I want to take him up on this offer. He's not even wearing pants. Like, if somebody approached me and they ain't wearing no pants, looking like a chia pet, I am not going to their house. I'm sorry, I keep getting sidetracked. It just doesn't make sense, you know? So while they're having tea and stuff, Thomas is being his usual creepy self, and he then pulls out a flute and starts playing it, and he's like real creepy with this flute, and like, yeah, I'm gonna like kidnap you and stuff. And he first things first, he just starts zooming her in a circle. Like he starts running circles around, and she just goes, which is crazy in of itself. And then he starts like playing this melody to get her in a trance. And during this whole song, like he's standing in front of the fire, which he really looks like Satan then. And then just like fades out and then goes back. He starts playing this song. And he just starts ugly crying like a big old baby.
Thomas, whatever is the matter? Mr. Tumnus, what is the matter? Dear Mr. Tumnus, tell me what's wrong. Mr. Tumnus, stop it at once. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Why are you crying?
I'm crying because I'm such a bad pawn.
And she's like, why are you crying, Tumnus? Why so sad? And he's like, well, there's this white witch, and she rules everything, and she's the one who makes it always winter. And she's like, what does this have to do with me? It's like, the thing is, I am kidnapping you, which, by the way, I called it because he's a big old kidnapper, not because I've seen the movie before, but because he's very, very, very suspicious. Do not go with people who don't wear pants and have an ugly hairdo like that, and also look like Satan. I mean, seriously. What is wrong with you? What did she expect? To not get kidnapped? No, that is exactly what's going to happen if you follow somebody who be looking like that. Anyway, sorry, sidetracked again. Back to the story. He's like, I'm kidnapping you for the White Witch. And she's like, oh, you wouldn't. He's like, but I am, and I have. And then it changes, and he's like, wait, I can still undo this. I'm going to get you back home as quick as possible. And he does. He takes her on this trail, and they go back home, and she gets thrown back into, and that's where the entire story starts, you know, her popping out of the closet, yada, 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 back to square one.
I'm here. I've come back.
So after all that, the beginning of the movie happens, yada, yada, yada. We go to the later that night, whenever she's like, I'm going to go back to the wardrobe to see if it's there again. And on her way, Edmund sees her, and he's, like I said, a complete dingus. You just want to clock him. He's like, oh, I'm just going to prove that she's a fool and an idiot, and I'm going to pick up my little sister.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. She's going in there again. I wonder. Maybe Narnia and Mr. Tumnus were just a dream.
So Edmund follows her, being the weird little piece of crap he is, and then pulls up the White Witch. And she's like, I'm the Queen of Narnia. And she's got some gnarly fingers. And let me say, and every time Edmund says something, like, she gets super ticked off and just like picks him up and just starts manhandling him. Like, what the heck is wrong with you? It's hilarious. She's like, honestly, in this film, personally my favorite character because she's the most fun to watch because like her voice acting, like she just has no chill, no calm whatsoever. Anytime somebody says anything, she just starts wigging out, and I love it. It's hilarious. I'm gonna show you a few clips.
And with you, of course, I'd be able to give you some more Turkish delight. Why not now? I can't do it now. Be off! I have unfinished business here.
She ends up, of course, recognizing him as a human. And she's like, maybe I should be a little bit nicer, which, by the way, does not last because anytime he like moves the wrong direction, she's like, no, or like, shut up, and it's just it's really funny. Anyway, she starts asking him about like, has any of his family been to Narnia? Has this is his first time being in Narnia? Is there others like him? He's like, yeah. He's like, and then there's my siblings, but they don't really mean much because he's a butt and nobody likes him. But he starts talking with her, and they start talking back and forth. And then she's like, tell you what, if you can bring your other family members to Narnia, then I would really like to meet them too. He's like, what do you need them for? And she's like, if you bring them to me, I'll make you a prince. And he's like, sold. He's like, also, can I have some more Turkish delight? And she's like, no. She's like, I mean, not until you get your reward. Like, you have to become the prince to get the Turkish delight because you got to bring me your family. And he just accepts this right away because he's an idiot.
You know.
Could I please have just one piece of Turkish delight to eat on the way home?
No. You must wait till next time. Next time! Next time! Don't forget! Come soon!
Oh, Edmund! Edmund, so you got in too?
So then Lucy runs up and she's like, hey, you're in Narnia too. Oh, I just got back from Thomas's house. He's doing all right. Nobody got him. Nothing bad happened to him. And by the way, I forgot to mention, Edmund mentioned Tomness when he was talking to the White Witch and said that that Tomness said she's a very bad person. That's going to come into play later. That's why I thought I should touch on it. Anyway, Lucy's there. She's like, I came back from Tomness's place. He's okay. The White Witch didn't get him for not kidnapping me and stuff. And he's like, I don't really care. Can we just like get out of here and stuff? Because, you know, he's really shifty and really mean. So they get out of there. They go back to the real world, and she tells everybody, she's like, I'm back. She's like, guys, it's there again. It was there again. And this time Edmund saw it too. And Edmund, being the piece of garbage he is, says, I wasn't there. You're lying. You know how children can't stop pretending. And you just, right there, you just want to.
We were both there. Go on, Edmund. Tell them all about it.
What's this all about, Edmund?
Tell us, Edmund.
Oh, yes. Lucy and I have been playing. Pretending. Ah, yes. We've been playing. Yes. Only pretending that everything she said was true. Just for fun, of course. There's really nothing there. There she goes again. What's the matter with her? That's the worst thing about young kids. They always...
Look here, shut up.
So then Lucy starts crying because nobody believes her again, and she knows she's right. So she runs away and starts bawling. So Susan and Peter, being the oldest, go and talk to the professor about it and want to see like what they should do about this whole situation. And then you get one of the most horrific shots I think I've ever seen of a character in my entire life. My eyes! So the professor tells him this is a very weird house. It could have been true. And if Lucy always tells the truth and Edmund always lies, logically, Lucy is telling the truth because she was in Narnia. So Edmund is the liar and Narnia does exist. And then right after that, they're like, okay. And then they just all hop in the wardrobe and go to Narnia. And that's how they get to Narnia. I mean, that's just how they do it. There's no in between. I'm not missing anything. Right after the conversation, they just hop in the wardrobe. Just like that. Nothing to push them in there. Nothing. They just go. enter. They're like, let's go see Tomness. He's a great guy. Come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. But they didn't know that Edmund ratted him out before with the White Witch. So whenever they get there, it does not look good.
He's not only the nicest fawn I've ever met, he's... Oh, no! Poor Mr. Tumnus!
So after seeing the wrecked place that's left right in front of them, they're like, we should go and help Tomness. So whenever they leave the house, they find a beaver, and he's like, come on this way, come on this way. He's like, I was Tomness's friend, and I'm here to help you. So let's go to my house, and I can explain more there.
How do we know you're a friend?
Not meaning to be rude, Mr. Beaver, but you see, we're strangers.
Quite right, quite right. Here is my token.
Oh, of course. It's my handkerchief, the one I gave to poor Mr. Tumnus.
That's right, poor fellow. He got wind of the arrest before it actually happened and handed this over to me. He said that if anything happened to him, I must meet you here and take you on. They say Aslan is on the move.
So then while they're on their way, Edmund's getting tempted. She's like, you want some Turkish delight, don't you? The witch is in his head, and she's like, Turkish delight? She's like, just go between those two hills, and you'll find what you're looking for. Turkish delight. Turkish delight. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to sell out my whole family for this stuff. Heck yeah! So that's exactly what he's going to do. That's what it's off to after, of course, everything that happens at the Beaver's house, which I'm going to talk about that first before I talk about where Edmund goes.
Between those two hills, whole rooms of Turkish delight. You will be king of Narnia. Turkish delight. Turkish delight. Turkish delight.
I'll lead the way. Be careful and don't slip. Here we are, Mrs. Beaver. I found them.
So the Beaver takes them to the house, and he starts talking to them, giving them all the exposition they need, tells them about Aslan, tells them about what are they going to do on the thrones again?
You've shit on.
And after they do that to the thrones, that's like part of the prophecy. There's a prophecy that says that Aslan's going to come back, and there's a prophecy that says all four of them are going to be rulers of Narnia. So all that happens, and while he's explaining this, Edmund decides he's going to slip on out and go see his new girly friend, not really his girlfriend, but the White Witch, because he's hungry and he wants Turkish delight, and he's ready to sell out his family. So that's the way to do it, I guess.
Anyway, she'll be better than that awful Aslan. When I'm king of Narnia, the first thing I shall do will be to make some decent roads.
So Edmund the Sellout, did I see what I did there? Anyway, yeah, Mr. Sellout goes to the witch, and first whenever he's greeted at the door by a big old ugly looking wolf, and he's like,
Stand still, stranger, and tell me who you are.
So then whenever Edmund enters this place, first thing you see is Tomness. Tomness got schwacked. He's now a rock. He's now turned to stone. And Edmund starts talking to the queen, and whenever the queen finds out that Edmund did not bring his siblings with him, she just started flipping out and going crazy. And then she's like, fine, you're coming with me. We're going to go hunt them down ourselves. And they start going to their beaver's house, but the beavers have already ditched the scene, and they're already out of there. They're running from the wolves, and it's honestly a pretty intense scene, a little bit. Like, the wolves are chasing them down, and they're trying to hide, and then they finally hide away for a little bit, and all seems well, and the beaver goes out and checks to see what's outside. And then something magical happens.
It's all right. Come out, Mrs. Beaver. Come out, son of Adam and daughters of Eve. It's all right. It isn't her. Come on, come and see. This is a nasty knock for the witch. It looks as if her power is already crumbling.
What do you mean, Mr. Beaver?
Didn't I tell you that she'd made it always winter and never Christmas? Didn't I tell you? Well, just come and see.
Then he finds out it's Christmas! And then he goes up and sees all the homies. He's like, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Let's all have a drink. And they're all having a blast. The fox and all his little forest friends, they're just having the best time ever. He's like, anyway, gotta get these kids to Aslan. You guys have a great time. Can't wait to see you for next Christmas. And while they're on their way, they look back, and the White Witch has also made it to this same Christmas spot with the fox and the rest of his forest friends. And it does not look good.
What is the meaning of this? Speak, vermin! Or do you want my dwarf to find your tongues with his whip?
So she's like, who brought you all this crap? And then the fox is like, it was Father Christmas, who's also known as Santa Claus to us. But yeah, he's like, it was Father Christmas. He brought us all these things. Like, he brought us the stuff. He brought us the food. He's the one it's Christmas. He's like, how about we drink to your health? And she's like, shut it. She's like, tell me you're lying and I might spare your life. And then this freaking stupid squirrel starts talking. This is one thing I thank the queen in this movie for doing, is shutting that squirrel up. She turns them all to stone. And it's incredible because that squirrel can't talk anymore. And it's just, thank you so much. That was a very annoying voice. Ugh.
Oh, don't! Please don't!
After that, all the snow's melted and they can't move anymore, so they tie Edmund up and they're like, all right, we're just going to speed walk to catch everybody else. Go as fast as we can. And they just start walking and they're just not having a good time at all. None of them. And honestly, the witch needs to chill out. Like, for being like the queen with all the snow and stuff, she just needs to calm down, just cool off a little bit. Because, girl, you're going overboard. Like, this is just crazy.
Drive him ahead of us! We're going to overtake them, or I'll know the reason why not!
Sheriff! The garbage!
Faster! Faster!
So they end up finding Aslan, and first things first, Peter's a wuss, because he's like, they see him, and then like the beaver's like, go say hi to him. He's like, hey, how about you go say hi first, and we'll just follow after. And because he was scared, like a little baby.
No, you first.
No, sons of Adam before animals.
Susan, what about you? Ladies first.
No, you're the oldest.
Aslan?
And one thing I noticed about Aslan is, first things first, he is locked in. Like, he looks like he's getting ready to steal your girl. Second thing I noticed about him is he sounds exactly like the lion from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, or at least like pretty close. He reminds me a lot of him.
Like playthings, a living creature cannot hide himself on an island. But perhaps, being misfits yourselves, you might help the toys here.
Welcome, Peter, son of Adam. Welcome, Susan and Lucy, daughters of Eve.
So they walk up to Aslan, talk to him for the first time, and then he ends up giving them some weapons that they're going to use later on in the movie. Aslan and hands them the weapons. They go out and start practicing with them, and then a wolf, like the wolf captain, attacks them. But Aslan's like, "Stay back." Peter has to fight the wolf alone. So whenever Peter does, he ends up killing the wolf, and now he feels a lot braver because he stopped this wolf from hurting his family and his friends. So then they get the army together and they go to break Edmund out of being captured by the witch. And so they rush the whole area. They grab Edmund, put him on their back. I would just like to mention that like nobody watched where the queen was, so they all start fighting. And the Minotaur, he's just kind of standing there like, "Mom, I peed the bed." Like that's the best way to explain his face expression. It's just, he's so goofy looking. Like, why is he just standing there?
I thought you had her.
I didn't see her after I knocked the knife out of her hand.
I was after the dwarf.
Do you mean she's escaped?
One can't mind everything at once.
So then the queen's weird little driver dude runs up and tells Aslan that the queen would like to have a meeting with her because they want to negotiate over Edmund, because technically Edmund belongs to the queen. So Aslan's like, fine. He's like, we'll have this negotiation. Now get out of here. So he goes. The meeting happens. They set it up, and the queen comes down, and she starts arguing with Aslan, and then he flips out on her. She flips out. Well, she's the one who started by flipping out on him. And they finally go off on their own and come to an agreement about everything, but nobody knows what this agreement is yet, which will be important in just a moment.
Have you forgotten the deep magic?
Let us say I have forgotten it. Tell us of this deep magic.
Tell you? Tell you what is written on that table of stone? Tell you what is written in letters deep as a spear is long on the trunk of the world ash tree? Tell you what is engraved on the scepter of the emperor beyond the sea? You at least know the magic which the emperor put into Narnia at the very beginning.
And then whenever they finally reach their agreement, he's like, Edmund is free. That's right, everybody. Edmund is free. He's allowed to stay with them. And the witch is like, so you're going to stick to what we promised? And then he just, roared at her, and she's like, yeah, and then ran away. But then that night, something very sad happens, and this is where the movie gets really dark and really serious. And this is like probably my favorite moment of the film because it is like so powerful. Because even though it was like super goofy all the way up to here with a bunch of different things, this is one part that you can't like not take seriously. But Aslan is very sad, and he's walking on his own this night, and Lucy and Susan start following him. And of course, he finds them. He's like, you can only follow me so far, but then I must go the rest alone. So whenever they do end up leaving and departing, he goes up and surprise, like there's a bunch of people at the stone table, and the queen's standing on the table. There's a bunch of goblins and ugly witches, and it's just very scary. And honestly, with this being a kids movie, it's really dark and really spooky for children.
Understand that you have given me Narnia forever! You have lost your own life, and you have not saved the human. In that knowledge, despair and die!
So, if you know your Bible, you know this next part. Aslan comes back just like Jesus came back, and he's returned from the dead, and he's like, come on, we gotta go get reinforcements for the battle that's going on with the witch and all our men. And as they're fighting, I would just like to mention that the witch just clocks Edmund right in the back, and he falls right on the ground, and it looks like he's down for the count. But then Aslan shows up, and he has all the reinforcements. Tomness is back. Everybody's who was turned to stone has been turned back to normal again. And Aslan jumps down and falls right on top of the witch with a big old thud and just kills her.
Off my back, children.
It's Aslan! Can't be. Aslan is dead, fool!
So the witch is dead, the battle ends, and it looks like Edmund's gonna die, but they give him the special potion that Lucy got earlier with the weapons. She gives him the potion. He turns out to be alive. They all get kinged, and it all turns out very happy, except for Tomness, who really let himself go after whenever they were from when they were children to when they're older, because dude got fat.
The white stag has once more appeared in the forest.
The white stag?
The white stag is a magic being and will give you wishes if you catch him.
But then the rest. They go out looking for the white stag one morning, go back to they find where they entered Narnia from the years before, but they don't quite remember it because they're adults now. And the second they enter where they turn back into the ages they were before, they're back to children, but they remember everything that happened in Narnia. And now they're children again. They ask the professor, they're like, do you think we'll ever get to go back to Narnia again? And he's like, I wouldn't count it out. He's like, you guys will return to Narnia someday, just not through the wardrobe. And that's where the movie ends. And honestly, pretty solid film. I liked a lot of it. Like I said, the goofy animation kind of threw me off here and there, but pretty incredible. So that about wraps it up for today. If you could please hit that like and subscribe button at the bottom. Also, leave in the comments what you thought of this video and also what you thought of the movie. I'd love to see your thoughts. If you have any movies you would like to suggest, also leave that in the comments. And if you've seen this movie before, please leave your thoughts and what you personally thought about this film. Anyway, that should wrap it up for the day. Have a good night. Unless it's the morning, have a great morning. Or if it's the afternoon, have a good afternoon. And if you're on the toilet, as you know, it's time to wipe. I'm Roman Ritchie, and this has been a Random Ritchie Review.